and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, just about anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Today's video is going to be what sold for the week of July 2nd through 8th. If you've not subscribed to our channel already, consider subscribing. And if you make it through to the end of this video and enjoy it, please hit the like button. Thanks so much, and let's get started. The first thing we sold was a Walt Disney VHS movie, Atlantis: The Lost Empire. We picked this up at a garage sale for 84 cents and it sold for our full asking price of $9.99. We got positive feedback on this one. The next thing we sold was a pair of my daughter's old sandals. They didn't have a brand. They were size 3, 4. They had a cork sole, really cute silver straps with some organza flowers on them. They were actually a gift, so there was no cost to us, and they sold for $10 even on best offer. Next up was something we got at an estate sale. It was the Sugar Train estate sale. This was a brand new in package Braun electric razor replacement cartridge. It sold for $39.99, our full asking price, and we had paid just $1 for it at the estate sale. Next up was a 2021 McDonald's Happy Meal toy. It was not new in the package, it was loose. We found this item in a big bag of toys that we picked up for something else at the thrift store. I don't even remember why we picked up this particular toy bag, but we always list everything from the toy bag. And usually everything out of the toy bag eventually sells. These Luca toys, particularly from McDonald's, have been unusually popular. We've sold almost all of the ones that were new in the package and most of the ones that were out of the package used as well. I'm not sure what it was about this particular toy or movie that made these toys so popular, but they've been especially popular. So if I saw them, I don't know if I would pick up any more out of the package ones, but, well, you know what? I probably would. I would probably pick up both out of the package and in the package Luca toys because we've sold all of them. So unless they were expensive, I would pick them up and loft them together or do something with them because they have definitely been good sellers for us. Anyway, this particular one, we paid 20 cents for it. I had broken down the average per item cost from that bag as 20 cents. And that toy sold for our full asking price of $7.99. Next up was another one of the Henry Cavill fleece throws. We picked up 3 of these at the Goodwill bins and we've sold all 3. This was the second one. You'll see another one in a future What Sold video. I don't think these were officially licensed Henry Cavill blankets, but I saw them in the clothing section. 2 of them were vacuum sealed in plastic bags, and then one of them somebody had torn open and taken it out of the package to see what it was. And so I knew that they were these Henry Cavill blankets, and I was like, do I want to pick these up or do I not want to pick these up? But ultimately I decided to pick them up. And I can't believe that we sold one for like $39.99, one for I think around $33, and then this one sold for $31.98 on offer to buyer. And we paid just 92 cents for each of them at the Goodwill bins. So like I said in the last What Sold where a Henry Cavill blanket sold, I don't think we'll ever come across any more Henry Cavill fleece blankets, but if we do, I'm totally picking them up because they were great money makers for us. Next up was another Goodwill bins find, and it was a brand new sealed DVD. It was an Australian show called Yummy Fun Cooking. It was episode 3, Spooky Fun. This is not something I've ever heard of, never seen this show. But we always pick up new sealed DVDs if we see them, just about anywhere if the price is right, but definitely in the Goodwill bins. This sold for $9.99, which was our full asking price, and we paid $1.41 for it this particular day at the Goodwill bins. Next up was a Gans brand 15-inch brown plush teddy bear. His name was Fenwick. We got this at our local thrift store and it sold for $19.99, which was our full asking price, and we had paid $1 for it. Next up was one of the books from the Out of This World Curb Alert. This one was a really cool 3D book. So it was designed for kids, but it was such a cool book that you could use it as like a coffee table book, in my opinion. I mean, it was like a really cool pop-up book. And then it had a sound chip in it, and the front cover had a button that you could push, and I don't remember, it said something. I think maybe John Glenn or somebody like that, Neil Armstrong, somebody, you pushed the button and they said something. But that sound chip, the battery in that sound chip was dead. So we actually undid it and replaced the battery and made sure it worked. And we were able to sell that particular book for $19.99, which was our full asking price, and we had paid $0 because it was a free curb alert. Next up was a lot of 4 Xbox sports themed games. We had gotten these at a garage sale for $1. All of them had damage to the cases. It looked like that the cases had been wet, like they had had water damage. But the games all seemed like they were in fine condition. They didn't seem to have any issues. So we disclosed that about the cases and accepted a best offer on those for $12.37. And we got positive feedback on that purchase. Next up was a clean eating magazine from November to December 2017. That I got from the lady who was giving away the free magazines on Nextdoor. And that one sold for $7.98, which was an offer to buyer. We paid $0 for that magazine and got positive feedback on that sale. Next up was a pair of my pants that I no longer wore. They were Candy's brand. They were like a red skinny cropped pant, and those sold for $18 even on best offer. Next up was something that we had in our store forever, and I could never figure out why I could not get these to sell. So I just kept lowering the price until finally I could not lower the price anymore without us risking losing money on shipping. But they did eventually sell. It was a lot of 4 different types of like fancy soaps, I guess you would call them. I listed them as like different luxury boutique style soaps. These sold for $10 even on best offer. And I don't even know where I got most of these, but they were probably gifts at Christmas time and stuff. But I don't really use bars of soap. We mostly use body wash, so I sold them. We did get positive feedback on this purchase. Next up was a 2016 Plaid brand folk art gnomes mini stencil. We got this at the Goodwill bins. Our Goodwill bins seem to get a lot of craft type items. I think they get a lot of old stock from places like Joann and Michael's. And one day we were there when they had just made a big dump, I think, of stuff from Joann's or Michael's, and we got a lot of crafting items. And this was one of them. This sold for $13.58 on offer to buyer, and we had paid 61 cents. Next up was a lot of 3 R.L. Stine books. It was The Babysitter 1 through 4 and Fear Street. These I got at a garage sale for $1, and they sold on offer to buyer for $18.38. Next up was an item that we found in the Goodwill bins. I think my husband was kind of enamored with this item. I'm not sure I would pick it up again. We didn't make tons of money on it, but I think secretly my husband wanted to keep it, and I was like, no, we're not going to keep that. We're going to sell it. This was a 2016 Hasbro Star Wars Darth Vader Simon game. It sold for $15.18 on offer to buyer, and we had paid 68 cents. Next up was a pair of Levi's 541 lime green men's jeans. I paid $3 for these at a garage sale, and they sold for $32 even on best offer. Next up is an item that we had in our store for so long, I don't even know how much we paid for it. I do know we got it at a thrift store. We got it at a thrift store that we no longer go to because their prices are so high. Their prices were high before prices started going crazy at thrift stores. We just quit going to that thrift store a long time ago because their prices were high and they never had any like good sales or anything. So we just decided we were out on that thrift store. I don't even know how much we paid for it. It has literally been in our store for like probably 2 years. But it did finally sell. It is a vintage Ralph Lauren extra, extra large men's Oxford style shirt. And it had like the pony embroidery and everything. I don't know why it took so long to sell, because usually the XXL is a great size. So I'm not sure what was detracting from this particular listing selling. But it did eventually sell for $30 even on best offer. And I can't remember how much we paid for it, so probably definitely no more than $10. But if I'm guessing at this particular thrift store, we probably paid around $7 or $8. Next up was a signed and numbered print by the Texas artist Paul Turner. It had bluebonnets on it, but this print was significantly faded. But it was a signed and numbered print. And I knew somebody who was a Paul Turner fan or collector might want it. So I did list it. I very clearly stated in the listing that the print had fading to it. And we very significantly lowered the price compared to other options of this print, other versions of this print that people had listed. So somebody who wanted this print and maybe didn't care that it was faded, it kind of had like just a blue look to it, which fit with the fact that it was blue bonnets, but it was not supposed to be that blue. It just had sun fading. This item sold for $30 even on best offer, and we didn't have any cost associated with it because this was something that came from the other business that we own, which is a custom picture frame shop. I think this was out in like a storage area and laying in a place where it was exposed to sunlight. So unfortunately it got damaged. Next up was a lot of 7 left door polished brass dummy lever handles. Like they're not the kind that actually turn. They're just the kind that you would put on a door that would be for, like if you had a double door, it would be the ones that would go on the door that doesn't actually have the working handle. I've had these in the store forever. These were removed from another house that I used to live in and replaced with other door handles. And I like actually moved them when I moved, kept them listed in the eBay store. I mean, it's crazy. But we finally sold them. I think I ended the listing and did sell similar, and that finally got some movement on them. We finally sold them for our full asking price of $37.99. And ended up making some really good money on them. So I guess it was worth it to keep them in the store all that time. Next up was a vintage 1994 Ace Novelty brand plush Power Ranger that I picked up at a garage sale, paid $1 for it, and it sold for a full asking price of $14.99. Next up was a little postcard size print. I mean, it was an actual postcard, but we used to do some framing for this gallery, and they would have us frame these postcards for like artwork as well. So I listed it as a print or a postcard. You could use it for either. It was a very high quality postcard that you could use for artwork as well. And it was by a Texas artist named Henrietta Milan. She does a lot of impressionist artwork. Her artwork is really beautiful. We have a lot of prints and different pieces by Henrietta Milan in our eBay store. This print or postcard sold for $7.18 on offer to buyer. Next up was a lot of 2 McDonald's Happy Meal Madame Alexander mini Wizard of Oz dolls. I picked these up at a garage sale. I think I paid 50 cents for these. I actually have the wrong information in my spreadsheet that I'm looking at right now, but I think I paid either 50 cents a piece or 50 cents in total for these, and they sold for our full asking price of $14.99. I just ran across, we were at this hoarder house estate sale. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have a video of that sale or not. That sale was like completely crazy. There were so many people in that sale, and so I don't know how our video is going to turn out. We did get some footage, but I was just at a sale where this house had like 4 boxes of these McDonald's Wizard of Oz dolls. And the estate sale had each of the boxes priced at $12, but there was so much stuff in that particular estate sale that normally I would have probably picked those up, but we had so much stuff. We spent almost $200 at this sale and had just piles and piles of stuff. I was just overwhelmed. We really had to hone in on exactly what we wanted. And normally I would have gone back on day 2 and day 3 when they started to lower the price, but this house had no AC, and we're in Texas in the middle of summer. And also the roof was caving in and they had leaks and there was mold in there. And I was so sick and headachy the next day after that sale. I just could not fathom the thought of going back in there. But I'm kind of sick about it because I'm thinking of all of the deals that I just left behind. But I'm also just thinking like there's no way I could have gone back into that house and bared the heat and the mold and the amount of people that would have been in there, because we were in there on a Friday night. They had the sale from 2 to 6 on Friday night, and then they were having it again on Saturday and Sunday. That's how much stuff was in that sale. But we had to walk away. I mean, we got so much stuff on that Friday night, y'all. It was completely insane. I hope the footage turns out. We only had my husband's camera because my GoPro has broken. We have to send it back to GoPro, but we'll see what we can do. If not, we'll just have to kind of do a show and tell for you guys of what we got from there, because I cannot explain to you how much stuff was inside that house. It was completely mind-blowing. So much stuff packed into such a small space. And no AC and mold everywhere. It was like, whoa, insane. Okay, next up it was brand new in package. It was a retractable shoehorn and it had a golf ball on the end of it. So this item, we had found it in the Goodwill bins. We pick up everything that's new and packaged in the Goodwill bins. Eventually that stuff always sells for us. We get it for a great deal and it usually sells. And this item was no exception. This sold for $14 on best offer. And we had paid just 61 cents. We got positive feedback on it. Next up was a vintage Ronald McDonald puppet. I had responded to a Facebook Marketplace post that had like a bunch of vintage toys, and I think I was literally the first person to respond to it. It had Rainbow Bright dolls and this Ronald McDonald puppet, and it had like a Marvin the Martian vintage puppet. Anyway, I had chosen like the items that I wanted from it and offered her $50, and then we were going to drive over there the next morning, and then she had a garage sale and we ended up getting a bunch of like awesome stuff at the garage sale. I got footage of it. I'll link that. You guys can check it out if you haven't seen that video already. But this was one of the items that we had driven over there to pick up. It sold for $22.99, which was our full asking price, and we had paid $5 for it. But I think we got more. I think the better stuff that we got almost was the stuff that we got at the garage sale than the stuff that we got from the Facebook Marketplace ad. But everything that we got from her was amazing. That was such a score. Next up was a brand new in package sealed DVD, The Abolitionist. We got this at the Goodwill bins. This sold for $19.99, and we had paid $1.41 for it. This was a day that we went to the Goodwill bins when there were so many brand new and packaged DVDs. I don't know where they had come from, but we were there at the right time when they had just dumped a bunch of brand new and packaged DVDs, like from either a store or somebody's collection, something. And we got so many and we made so much money off of those DVDs. That was such a score. Next up was a 2006 Chick-fil-A kids meal toy, Veggie Tales. And anytime I see anything Veggie Tales, I always pick it up because Veggie Tales are so popular. There are collectors of VeggieTales out there. VeggieTale stuff always sells. And also Chick-fil-A toys are very popular, and Chick-fil-A toys always sell. So the two combined, that was a win-win. So I knew that was an item that I was going to pick up. I did, and it sold. That sold for $14.99, which was our full asking price, and we had paid just 67 cents for that. Next up was a vintage Larry Bird pennant. It was from, I guess he has or had a hotel restaurant in Terre Haute, Indiana, and that's where this pennant was from. This came from an estate sale. The owner of this estate sale was like a huge Larry Bird fan, and we had gotten a vintage Boston Celtics starter jacket, a youth size starter jacket, and a couple of Larry Bird pennants at this sale. And I think we might have one pennant left, but the Celtics jacket sold and this sold. So we've sold like almost everything from that estate sale, and we got our own, we got a Mac at that estate sale that we're using for our own personal use. So that was one of my favorite estate sales we've ever been to. That pennant sold for $35 even on best offer, and we had paid just $1 for it. And we got positive feedback on it. Next up was a vintage owner's manual for a framing underpinner. And if you haven't guessed already, this came from the other business that we own, which is a custom picture frame shop. And surprisingly, we do really well with selling old vintage manuals. Anytime we come across a manual that, maybe is in a box of stuff that we bought, we always list it because manuals sell. It's crazy. And you can send them as media mail. Manuals they don't take up any space in our inventory room, and we make lots of money on manuals. It's such a random thing that you would not think, normally you would just think, oh, that's trash. That's not something I'm going to sell. But we sell manuals all the time. We definitely never throw them away, that's for sure. We had this one listed for quite a while because this is such a niche item, but it eventually sold. It sold for $15 even on best offer. I think I had it listed for pretty significantly higher than that, maybe like $27.99, because it was such a niche item. I knew, we had literally the only one listed on eBay, because I knew when that buyer came, there was not going to be another buyer. I took that offer. I took the offer that they made, and that was $15. There was no cost associated on that item with us because that item was just laying around our custom picture frame shop. We don't even have that piece of equipment anymore. And so $15, I was like, that sounds really good. So I got that one out the door. Next up was a lot of 2 Magnatone wipeout swipes. I had gotten these in my Birchbox. This is not an item that I use, so I listed them and they sold for $14.18 on offer to buyer, no cost to me because they were already in my Birchbox, and I use all kinds of other stuff from my Birchbox, so I definitely get my money's worth on that. Next up, I noticed that I had a watcher on all of these complete team sets, these score complete team sets, and it was unusual. And I thought, this is probably definitely the same person. And if I make a really good offer on all of these items to this person at the same time, maybe they'll buy all of them. We can ship all of them at the same time, and this would be a huge moneymaker for us. The risk was that some of these sets, while some of them were selling for higher amounts, like $40, $20, some of them we only had listed for like $9.99. And these were, a very big stack of baseball cards. So the ones I was considering offering like 20% off. So the ones that were only listed for $9.99, if I offered 20% off and he only bought one, and he only bought one that was $9.99, 20% off, so that would be like $8, then we would maybe lose money on that, considering how much it was going to cost to ship depending on where he was located. But I decided it was worth the risk. I had a really good feeling about it. I just had this sense that he was going to buy a bunch of them. That risk paid off because he ended up buying 7 in total complete sets of baseball cards. He bought a Detroit Tigers set for $8.68. He bought California Angels Series 1 for $7.98. Seattle Mariners Series 1 for $34.38, Houston Astros Series 1 for $12.78, Kansas City Royals Series 1 for $7.98, San Francisco Giants Series 1 for $23.98, and San Diego Padres Series 1 for $12.78. So that was an amazing deal. He bought them all separately for some reason, which was weird, but we were able to ship them all together, and that was such an amazing sale. I was super excited about that. When those sales came in, it was like cha-ching, 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 and I was like, what's happening? That was so awesome. Next up is a Fisher-Price Imaginext replacement Batman minifigurine. This sold for $8.99, which was our full asking price. We got this in a bag of toys from the thrift store, and we paid 19 cents for it. Next up is a Texas Instruments Business Analyst calculator. We got this at a garage sale, and we paid $1 for it. It sold for $11.98 on offer to buyer. And last but not least is a 1-inch Texas Rangers hat pin or lapel pin, pin back. We got this is from 1995, and we actually got this on a hat. We picked up a baseball hat at a garage sale. We picked it up specifically because it had 2 Texas Rangers pins on it that we wanted, but the hat was in really bad condition. We had to just donate it. This particular pin sold for $7.98, and we had paid 50 cents for it. And at the end, I always go over the collectible cards from my husband's personal collection. This week, we sold 7 cards for a dollar amount total of $18.71. And that wraps up the sales for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did and you'd like to show us, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing down below with the notification bells turned on so you can be kept informed of all of our latest content. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.